Cormac McCarthy is one of the greatest Southern Gothic authors of all time. But did Cormac McCarthy view himself as a Southerner? Because for the first 41 years of McCarthy's life, he lived in Knoxville. He did take a small detour while enlisting in the Air Force in Alaska for 4 years, but other than that, he spent all the way into his 40s in Knoxville. And today we are going to be hearing from McCarthy from in an unreleased interview talking about his identity and the South. And if you guys don't know, Right Conscious is the headquarters of everything related to Cormac McCarthy here on YouTube. I have a playlist with over 170 Cormac McCarthy videos in it down below if you are interested in more on McCarthy. So, the quote from McCarthy in the interview. Quote, "Were there Southern roots to the family, or was it your, no, you were the first to set down, McCarthy. Carpetbaggers, yeah. All right, yeah." Back to Woodward. "Yeah, but do you feel some kind of allegiance to the South?" McCarthy. "Oh, yeah, I'm a Southerner, you know. Grew up in the South, so sure." Woodward. "Do you vote, or do you think?" McCarthy. "Well, you'd think." Woodward. "You were the one in the family with the strongest." I'd like to see what he was saying there with strongest, honestly. McCarthy. "To some extent, and of course, a lot of the kinds were born in Tennessee, you know, the younger ones. And yeah, if you were born in a place, you never escape, you know. To some extent, my parents think of themselves as Southern after having lived most of their lives in the South. Yeah, and DC is a very Southern town. Yeah, Gore Valley Dow said it has. He said that Washington was blessed with Southern efficiency of Northern Charlotte. But yeah, they never got when they left Knoxville. They didn't get any farther north of Virginia. But yeah, I don't know. Like, my sisters live in New Jersey. I'm sure they don't think of themselves particularly as Southerners, my older sisters. And McCarthy mentioned something very important here. When Woodward asks him if he votes, he never answers, but Woodward replies, "You're the one in the family with the strongest ... And I think he was going to say political opinions, but McCarthy interrupted him, and he says, "To some extent." Because we know in the late 1990s, a reporter went through Cormac McCarthy's trash and found mail from the Republican Party and different candidates in the Republican Party, which would lead us to believe that he was a registered member of that party. That's why you receive mail most of the time. He also has a quote about liberals in his 2005 Vanity Fair article. So maybe it's safe to assume because McCarthy's family moved from Rhode Island. His dad graduated top of his class at Yale. He worked for the government. And under FDR, that he was most likely a Democrat. And if his sisters went to prestigious universities in the Northeast, it's not unrealistic that, you know, the rich Catholic family maybe had more liberal views. And McCarthy having a political revolution in his heart after his sexual, intellectual, and spiritual awakening in the 1970s, and his scientific awakening in the 1980s and 90s when he won the MacArthur Fellowship and got to hang out with Nobel Prize-winning scientists. And then McCarthy moved in 1998 to Santa Fe to be a part of the Institute. So both of those endeavors complicated McCarthy's political leanings, because one of the main things that the Santa Fe Institute studies is complex systems. And SFI has a libertarian philosophy when it comes to science and a lot of aspects of government and economics, because they don't trust these complex systems and understand the chaotic nature of them. And that analysis is obviously an oversimplification because we're dealing with some of the best scientists in complex systems. But when we look at McCarthy's novels like No Country for Old Men and The Road, he did start to get into that doomsday, the world is in decline mentality. He mentioned Spangler and the decline of the human race in many interviews and in the archive. And McCarthy wasn't like the rest of his family in the sense that he really connected to the South. He tells stories of just spending all day and all night running around the fields in Tennessee, just enjoying himself at night. And he also built a house by hand out north of Knoxville and moved his wife out there and would have parties out in the hills of Knoxville. He never really properly lived in Knoxville. When I've been able to tell, he was always out in nature. His favorite type of music was hillbilly music. He respected Faulkner and Flannery O'Connor so much that he wanted to be the next person in that lineage, which he was, but no one really understood that that genre was dying. We were moving into postmodernism and the kind of darker, more subtle elements of Southern Gothic didn't necessarily ring true for a lot of younger folk who were moving into like more of that psychedelic era. Reading about that stuff somewhat seemed uncool. And obviously it did become a cool thing, and those authors became, more popular even after their death. I'm referring to Flannery and Faulkner. And McCarthy made a beautiful move by writing his first 4 books and couple plays/screenplays in the South, in the sense that he became acquainted and the expert of something. So many authors I know are writing too broadly in terms of their topic. Obviously, when you look at people behind me, you can have a diverse catalog of characters and plots and settings and styles. But in general, the people we call great, Cormac McCarthy, Frank Herbert, Leslie Marmon Silko, Octavia Butler, Margaret Atwood, just to name some ladies, Louise Edrich or whatever her name is. They usually write very, somewhat similar stories. Sometimes they branch out into science fiction or something odd, but most of their books have the same feeling, and they just work on that time, over time. And so with our limited time, I know people who maybe in terms of fiction write the same stuff, but then they're also writing nonfiction or poetry, or they're wasting time in other endeavors instead of becoming the head honcho, the top G, as the mostly illiterate Andrew Tate would say, of that kind of sub niche of writing. And you have to wonder in Suttree at the end, I won't spoil anything, but Suttree is an autobiographical novel. And a lot of the book is kind of a nostalgic look back at the South and trying to come to terms with leaving the South or viewing it objectively. It's kind of this spiritual journey of changed perceptions about the South. And McCarthy went through something very similarly. In 1958, at the tender age of 25, McCarthy started writing Suttree, but he tried for years, but he couldn't get it off the ground. And then he came up with the Orchard Keeper story. And for 2 decades, McCarthy struggled with Suttree, 15 years. But in 1974, when he moved to Tucson, suddenly there was an explosion in growth. Obviously, he left his second wife and all the drama or whatever psychic vampirism was going on there, or if there was any. But or just happy times and just, not enough time to write enough. But once McCarthy went to a different environment, his ideas on the South exploded. And if you want to explode onto the scene with a Cormac McCarthy t-shirt, I am now selling them again. I'll be adding a bunch more styles soon, but if you want to support this channel and get a free t-shirt or streetwear or a hoodie, the link is down in the description below, alongside my free offering of 144 of Cormac McCarthy's favorite authors and books. And if you haven't got that yet, it will expand your reading list instantly. And it's really an ode, a homage to some of the most beautiful elements and malignant elements of the South. We have hospitality and humor and a nice environment, a connection with nature, varying weather environments, such as going up into the mountains or living on the houseboat. Different classes of people. We have, the upper class, and then like the very, very low people living in the woods of, Great Smoky Mountains National Park and just around Knoxville in little shacks. We see the malignant trope of sex with underage girls or, people of all genders in Southern literature and culture with, McCarthy and Suttree multiple times, I think. But McCarthy was a student of all this. So I'm going to ask you right now, what are you a student of? Because if we are going to write consciously, read consciously, and be conscious, we are going to need to start with becoming the orchard keepers of our certain area of writing. Because in a declining market, the most important thing we can do as independent authors is stabilize certain sectors of reality. Because the number one thing I've noticed with millennial writers and Gen Z writers, and I've read a ton of them from beginning to expert, is that they've lost the ability to write beautiful images. We see Cormac McCarthy talking about the South and describing it. Very rare to be able to see that at the level of depth, writing style and skill, but also the intuition and feeling aspect. You almost never see that, except sometimes with very bright and exceptional authors. And that's because if you go toward writing a more marketable book that's going to sell well, whether that's in the kind of mass paperback fantasy book talk world or the literary fiction world that more explores human relationships and nothing in the vertical realms of writing and consciousness, you don't need images to be able to do that well and to sell books in that regard. But if you want to be the best, if you want to compete with guys like McCarthy, Faulkner, Joyce, even Nabokov, others, whoever your favorite author is, they understand place. They understand their roots and what they are trying to write. And if they ever stray from that, like at some level, Don DeLillo, Hemingway in some respects, and many others, when they divert too far too fast, sometimes it can be a disaster. And so I would rather see you take the slow road and have massive success and blow minds in your little subgenre of writing. Today, I had someone send me an album that he released in anniversary because Cormac McCarthy's death. There were some McCarthy references on this rap album. I've never met this guy. I don't know who this guy is. He sent me an email with his album and said, I know you like shadow rap, so you'll like this. And it was really good. And he owned the space. I listened to a lot of rap music. I've played instruments my entire life. Some of his songs had a unique sound that blew me away. And so forever he will own that space in my mind. And if he continues for even just a couple more years, he'll be a legend of that sound. No one will be able to really come behind him. And because our spaces and our styles mostly are built on other authors, as long as you don't have a big ego or you're just like really dumb or something, you should be relatively successful in that field. Because the standard isn't, I need to sell 1 million books or be the best of all time, but I just need to be, like Cormac McCarthy said, I want to be the new Southern Gothic guy on the block. And I want you to be that writer on the block. And so I have created a writing group, a writing community, writing courses, a book club, and so many other things that you can check out in the links down below. Some of the offerings are free, some are paid, but I'm trying to give as much value out to as many people as possible. And it's impossible to do free writing courses on YouTube because it's not a dedicated learning management system. So go check some of those out. But he says it, he admits it. I'm a Southerner. I'm a desert poet. What the hell are you? That's step number 1 to selling a book, everybody, is having some form of identity. In the 1970s and 80s, there was a very small market to be the next Southern Gothic guy on the block. But if you are the best writer of Westerns and are seen as this scientific, intellectual, and reclusive cowboy, suddenly that garners interest. You got primed into Cormac McCarthy probably with his reclusiveness or one of his violent Westerns. And you're like, who the hell is this guy? Why is everybody talking about him? And then as you started to search, you found not very much. And that made him different than so many other narcissistic artists that you've probably encountered in the past. The same thing happened to me. And it wasn't until I did a deep study of his Southern novels and saw how much more layered and complicated they were than his Western novels. You know, maybe outside of Blood Meridian and The Passenger, which counts as really a East Coast Southern novel. But those novels are more layered, and McCarthy spent more time on them in the archive than any of his later publications after Blood Meridian. Just the process and the amount of drafts and work he put in to write the 37,000 word Child of God is insane. Same with Outer Dark. I mean, years upon years to write a 75,000 word novel in Outer Dark. And he was going at that full time. So thank you guys for being here. I love all the support. I love all you guys. Thank you for reading. Continue to spread literary education in your own personal life. Tell someone about a book. Give someone a book and have them not read it. Eventually, you are going to get through to someone, especially if you are optimistic about it. I have helped now in my personal life hundreds of people, and now online, thousands of you guys go deeper into books. But it just starts with one person. It just starts with getting the energy flowing. But who are you going to be? I coincidentally, not even by choice, became a champion of Southwestern literature. I'm just getting going with this, but Wallace, McCarthy, and others I'm going to talk about all lived and wrote about the Southwest. I've lived in the Southwest my entire life. That's what I write about. But when I finally figured that out and really started to live it, this channel blew up. My writing skills and many other things just vastly improved once I found that zone I was trying to be in. And so the faster you can get there, the better success you're going to have. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one.